Alright, so we've got some videos that have overlapped each other here. So we left off last night. Jared had pulled the head off of this engine. And now he's got this oil pan ready to break loose. He kind of wanted to see what caused the block to get a hole in it. It did have a burnt piston in it. So we'll see what we can see here. One up top there. One down at the bottom, Jared. Come this way. Come towards me too. There's another one. Is there any more? Yeah, there's one holding your oil pump sump screen on the bottom. And what's the what do you got? Okay.
It all fucked up?
No, not really. I mean, it's got a good mark in there, but was there any pieces missing?
No.
I mean, it's got a hammer mark in it.
That's all fucked up. That is all fucked up. That is about as fucked up as you can get.
Well, yeah, but I mean, obviously something coming against that. Was there anything in the oil pan?
No.
And any pieces? What is that, Jared?
Oh yeah, there is a little
Piece
piece.
of the block, isn't it?
That must be the piece.
There's a piece of the roller.
So that's probably what broke it. So something just dropped down, and just as it dropped down, that connecting rod came around at the same time.
Yeah. Well, it made it back to the barn.
Yeah, made her back. So. All right, well, the mystery has been solved. Well, before we get into priming this here, we've got a couple of things to button up here before we get into that. I've got a couple of small things left to do to this C5. One of the items that I had left to do is figure out where to put the front license plate. I wasn't too awful interested at first of putting it on the bumper because I didn't want to be drilling holes through it and allowing moisture to get into it. But I kind of forgot that this back side is open. So we drilled some holes in, put some squish style nut fasteners in there. We're going to mount the plate right on the front left corner. And the beauty with mounting it there is that tube is boxed out and the holes only go through this front plate. Probably didn't need the press-in nuts, but that'll allow us not to have to worry about reaching up in on the backside to put a nut on there. And I don't know, looks a little neater as well. So we'll get that on there, and then I'm going to throw some fluid film a little bit inside this frame rail, and then we can pull this outside. We need to put some grease on the fifth wheel. I haven't decided if I'm gonna do that now or just wait until we hook it to a trailer. There's no sense in, well, I guess the grease is not gonna go anywhere once it's on there. So we might as well get this finished up, get this out of here so that we can get these jobs checked off the list. But we ended up putting the old hanger style mud flaps, or the ones that go into brackets here, just a little bit of coverage from the full fender down. We'll use those some here and there when if we have to take these off to put the floaters on. At least they're there, and that is an option. The boys ended up putting I think it's 6-inch straight pipe on top of the extension pipe on top of the muffler with a rain cap. And another thing, we've got to clean up some of this fluid film overspray that's on the truck, and we'll get this kicked out. So let's go ahead and get that plate mounted up and splash some fluid film on this and button up a couple of these other loose ends. Well, we have gotten as far as we're going to be able to get here today on this one. Today is Sunday, March 2nd, and there's no parts stores open. And this needs an alternator. I had to put a clamp on the inlet side of this turbo. When I put that on, I noticed I had a broken wire on the alternator. So I went ahead and tried getting the stud out. It didn't look all that great, and I broke the stud. I had an alternator upstairs for truck 14, which is an 06 International with the same alternator, but it's slightly different. I don't have a pulley or a fan for it, and the pulley and the fan off this one didn't work. So I had to beat on this with a hammer for a little bit to get the pulley off, and I've broke the mounts. So we're gonna have to go ahead and get an alternator here tomorrow. So we've got our license plate installed. We fluid filmed some of the back side of that bumper, and we went ahead and fluid filmed the inside of the frame rail on the rear end here. Fluid filmed each side of the fifth wheel frame, so it's gotten it down on the truck frame here a little bit, and we spooged some grease up on the fifth wheel. Now I know I'm gonna have some experts tell me that's not the way to do it. Well, you're right, but if you know how to hook a trailer up when you've got fresh grease on your fifth wheel, you'll be able to figure that out. You hook kind of high so that you don't smear all that off, and just before your kingpin comes engaged, you set the trailer down and back up. The best way to do it is to take and grease the hitch on the trailer. You grease it back just right about at the kingpin, and then when the truck backs underneath there, it'll smear that grease forward. So this is as far as we're going to be able to get here today on this. It is Sunday, March 2nd. And I'm not going to be able to get an alternator for this truck. We'll have to get one here tomorrow. And we'll try to get some primer on this 06 C500. So we'll join up with you when we get shooting some primer on here. Well, we are now ready to shoot this with primer. Nate is wiping off the top of the cab, and Jason and I are going to prime it here in a little while. So we took the hood off of this so that it would kind of paint easier. Painting it in different sections, it'll go a lot easier as far as having everything flash back on you. We'd be able to keep the gloss on there a little better if the hood is removed. The C5, and we painted that, I'm pretty sure we painted that with a hood on it, didn't we, Jay? Yes. The hood was on there. So we'll get everything primed, and then tomorrow what we'll do is we'll go through and we'll put on the red color, because this is going to be black and red. It's going to be black with red fenders, and then it's got the extension fender, or the bottom side of the fender is here. So that's going to be easy with these pieces here. We'll be able to just remove them from this building. However, this hood is going to have to set with the red color on it for, we'd like to let it set as long as we can, maybe 2 days. Shoot red tomorrow, and then wait till, tomorrow will be Tuesday, wait till Thursday or Friday to shoot black. So what we're using for primer is an epoxy primer. It is from Auto Finishers. It is Essential by PPG. And what we're going to be using is Harbor Freight paint guns, right? Yep. But they work. We're going to just use the paint guns to put the primer on. The color we're going to put on with rollers and paint brushes. It'll be a lot easier to put the color on with the brushes and the rollers.
That way it looks more authentic.
But it'll look more authentic.
Look nice.
It'll be easier to cut that color in from the red to the black. So we're going to get started here. I'm going to mix up our primer and then get to town here. So we had chose not to paint the frame, only because the frame is in good shape as far as it's got real good paint on it. And in order to do that correctly, you'd either have to wire wheel it or sandblast it. After a while, the paint would just fall off of the frame. It did that to the other C5. The paint was too good that we tried to cover up, and we didn't get it scratched up and removed good enough, and it just
Started peeling.
It started falling off. So the frame's going to stay black. Maybe in 4 or 5 years when we have to sandblast it, we'll paint the frame red. Got the engine covered up, and if we get brave, maybe we would shoot yellow paint onto the engine tomorrow, but I don't think that's going to happen. Here is the bumper on this one. This one's all open on the back side. It's just a little bit different than the bumper on the other one that we made. We got a box tube on the other one, whereas we cut out for this frame extension piece on the other truck. And somebody had asked me in that other video, you know, your pull hook is on, you know, bolted on the front side of that bumper's not heavy enough. Well, there's a frame piece that goes in the back side of the bumper that this thing's actually pulling from. So, or pushing from. They use these C5s to push as well. So we'll get the priming here. These guys are helping us clean things up. We're gonna start shooting, right?
Yep.
In a short amount of time. Gotta get throwing it on there.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah. All right, now it's time for a cold beer. So we have gotten this all in primer. Went pretty good, didn't it, Jay?
Yeah.
Them guns I haven't used. I mean, I've bought gravity feed guns before, but I've never used them myself. Those work pretty good. So we were able to get all the way around. We sprayed a gallon, well, a little more than a gallon, about 1.5 gallons of sprayable product on here. So tomorrow, this primer should be setting pretty good. We can mask off the spots on the hood, or the fender on the hood, and then these pieces here are going to be red. This one, these two, and then just the fender on the hood. So we'll mask that off, paint it. We don't want to get any red paint up where the black paint is going to be. And like I said earlier, we'll have to let that dry for a couple of days so that we can stick tape to the spot on the hood where the red is going to be. And we've got to make sure that's good and dry and hard, so that when we go to pull the tape off, we don't pull the paint off. So that's where we're at here, and we've got some other projects that we're going to work on tomorrow. That's going to be in a different video. I'm going to try to keep this painting and whatever all in one video here. So we do have the sand truck to work on, which I will probably video that, and you'll have seen that before you have seen this. So we'll join up with you guys tomorrow when we throw the red on the fenders. All right, so we are now into the following day. We primed this last night, and I thought about it a little more, and I figured what we're going to do is we are going to paint the red on the fenders. We've got the hood and the fender extensions over in this build. We're going to paint the red on that, and we're going to shut this door down, and then we're going to shoot black on the cab, the bumper, and we've got a couple of other pieces that belong on the truck as well. And then what we'll do is we'll let this sit for a couple of days, and then we can shoot black on the hood. Today is Tuesday. We're going to shoot black on the hood on Friday. That'll give the red time to dry, and then what it'll allow us to do is it will allow us to start putting this back together on Friday. We'll be able to just put all the put the pieces back on it, And then last thing, Friday, we can shoot the black on the hood, let that sit through the weekend, and put the hood on the truck on Monday. So that's the plan. Jason's got the paint shaken up.
Yep.
And we're going to go ahead and shoot it. So, all right. Time for fun, right? All right, so we have the red on the fenders and on the fender part of the hood. And then that black is primer, which we will have to let the red sit so that we can get tape on it to cover the red up. We'll let that sit for a couple of days before we get into painting the black on the hood. So we've got the black done on the truck portion. And we'll let this sit a couple days and we'll slowly get it back together. And then it'll slowly be put all back together. Got to uncover everything, the horn, the lights, the glass, get all this plastic off the frame and kick this out the door. So we'll join up with you guys when we get back onto the rest of it here. All right, so now we are starting to take some of the masking off. We got done painting this here last night, and we probably should have pulled the masking off then, huh, Jay? So he's getting that peeled off. We're going to put black on the hood here tomorrow. Jason's going to do what he can to the cab on this truck as the day goes on. But what we're going to do now is we're going to work on putting the hydraulic valve assembly on the truck. So what we have here is a single acting valve, single acting spool valve. This will be for a truck hoist in the event that someday if we get a dump trailer or something, we'll be able to raise the hoist with this valve. This valve here is going to be a double acting motor spool. Motor spool meaning that it's going to run a hydraulic driven apparatus, whether it be a manure tank or the silage trailers. The silage trailers, we can only run the moss trailers in one direction. However, on the manure trailers, the dillers in particular, we can run them either in forward or reverse. And we like to have that option. If you get a stone caught in the fan, you can reverse it to kick the stone out. In the past, we ran a single acting motor spool, and that didn't work too good if you got a stone locked in it. So we're going to get this valve put together. It's got 1/2-inch bolts that tie it together. Got to get the valves in the appropriate spot. Inlet cover, 2 valve work sections, an outlet cover, and then we've got a manual handle kit here that we really probably don't need on there. However, in the event that you're unloading grain or something and you don't want to get up into the truck, if you had a handle on here, you could just walk over to the side of the frame and pull the handle to raise or lower the hoist. This valve here has a double acting cylinder spool in it, and we're going to change that to a motor spool. So we're going to change out this part of the valve. So we're going to construct that, get that all put together, and then we've got a piece of metal that we're going to lay across the frame, which is this here. We'll bolt the valve body right directly to that, and then we'll put our wing couplers up out of the valve to hook the silage trailers to, and or the dump trailer. So we'll go ahead and get things assembled. We'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll get our metal cut for our valve body to bolt to. Alright, so we have kicked the truck outside so that we can paint this hood. It is now Saturday morning. I got the pieces together for the wet line. We primed that last night, and I said, well, we'll wait and paint today. We can paint those pieces along with the hood. We got the red all covered up. Now we're gonna shoot the pieces that we made that goes on the frame for the wet line, and then we'll come in and shoot the hood as well. And we can clean our paint gun up, let this hood set a couple days, and get it on there. So we'll do some paint and we'll show you what that looks like when we're done. And yeah, all right. All right, so we've got all of the black sprayed. This is the valve body here. And this is the bracket that's going to sit down across the frame, in behind the cab. The valve body will bolt to it, and then we've got a couple of power plugs, trailer wire harnesses, whatever, they're going to plug into those brackets. And then we've got our rigid style pogo stick here that's going to bolt to the, well, it's just a piece of 12-inch junior channel, and then we're going to clamp that down on the truck frame. These components here are pieces that came off of Jared's engine, which is up in the hay barn now, and they're going to go on the engine that he's got rebuilt over there. Power steering pump, fan clutch pulley assembly, or the fan drive. Oh, that is a tube for coolant, and then the power steering reservoir. So we'll show you what the hood looks like. These guys have rebuilt a manure pump. They put a new fan housing on it and a new fan. So they've got that rebuilt. And then we'll show you what this hood looks like, and we're going to pull the paper off of it, but it came out pretty good. We'll get the paper pulled off, and this will sit for a couple of days before we handle it to put it back on the truck. I want to say there's a Kenworth nameplate that sits there. Headlight things have to go in it, the front grille, and what have you. So we'll get the paper pulled off, and hopefully the black paint stays on it when we pull that paper off, and we don't end up with any spots where we end up hitting the hood with the paper, because that paint is still wet. Okay, so we have the masking off of the hood. In other words, the paper that covered up the red part of the fender, we've got that removed. We have found you don't want to leave that on too long. If you leave it on there too long, the tape next to the paint that you put on can through with the paint just a little bit, the fresh paint. So we've got that all painted up, come out pretty good. And this is where we're going to sign off from this video. In the next video, we'll put the rest of the components together on the truck itself. We'll finish up the wet line. And then we've got a couple of other odds and ends to do to it to finish it up. So, with that being said, we will catch you guys at the next video. Thanks for watching.